Something is shifting within the hi-fi hobby. Is this the end of an era where mid-fi, low-fi and hi-fi is concerned? Or have we just moved the technical performance goalpost somewhere else? What we're getting for the lo-fi and mid-fi category these days, where price to performance ratio is concerned, has been nothing short of insanity. And one of these highlights is this, the Sivga P2 Pro, the latest addition to the Sivga line of families that incorporates the flagship performance in a mid-fi price point category. Hi, I'm Koji CEO. Welcome to Convince Me Audio. Let's discuss. A special thank you goes out to Sivga for sending the P2 Pro Planar open back headphones in for review. Now, this company is not unfamiliar to the channel. We reviewed the Sivga SV023 and the Sivga Luan last year. Reviews here. Interesting products, beautifully designed, and price to performance ratio, they always deliver. So I didn't expect anything to change when they reached out and said, would you like to review our new P2 Pro Planar headphone? We are implementing new technologies by introducing a sapphire dome for the driver and some interesting products in regards to the actual manipulation of the transducer itself. Sounded interesting. I said, okay, I'll give it a go, I'll have a look. I did not expect to get something like this. We are truly at a paradigm shift in this category of the yesteryears of mid-fi. I think these days to call these headphones and some of the IEMs we have recently reviewed on the channel mid-fi is quite honestly offensive. Yes, mid-fi in 2020, in 2018, not in 2024. Something like this would have set you back $1,100 a few years ago. Now at $599, it's quite astonishing. Let's have a look together. So they've changed the case design. It's a bit more of a flatter design with this sort of anime butt-esque design, but it's slim profile-ish and you can put it in a backpack. Very durable. And I quite like it actually, and it's got 4 metal feet underneath, so you can stand it up like this as well. This is a pretty decent case, already a very good start, and I prefer this over the cases that used to come with the Sivga SV023 and Luan. Wasn't really a big fan of those, but this is definitely an upgrade. It's a bigger case. We get a nice braided OCC cable, 3.5 terminating in 4.4 with the 6.3 accessory adapter and an additional 4.4 female to 3.5 in case you want to go single-ended. This cable is beautifully designed. I regularly use these with the Thigh Ghost and some of the headphones that lie around. Honestly, it's very ergonomic, but we'll look at that in a minute. These are the headphones themselves. Fortunately, they lay flat like so. So let's dispense with the very nice case. Honestly, I really like this. This is pretty decent. So let's place that here. First of all, the cable. It does not keep its shape. It's a very, very nice cable. Honestly, I've seen far more expensive headphones with far worse cables, without a doubt. Hi-Fiman Aria, for example. That is an awesome cable. Already a very strong start. And we had the same principle in regards to the Sivga Luan and SV023 last year as well. These are the beautiful headphones themselves. Keeping to the same sort of design, so once you look at a Sivga, you know it's a Sivga. We have this sliding mechanism, very stiff, akin to the Meze 109 Pro sort of design, and keeps its place very nicely. I always wanted a indentation here so that you can slide it up with your thumb like this. There is a little bit of a protrusion now, thank you, that's very much appreciated. But if it was something like this bit, sliding up and down, I think that would be better. So please take note, Sivga, For the next one, we want a little indentation for the sliding mechanism, just so that you don't have to do this. You can just do it with your finger like that, and it'd be a little bit nicer. Then we have this spring steel arching headband, nicely designed. We have a rotational cup, 180 degrees, so this thing can lay flat. Thank you so much, very much appreciated. Coming down to the cups, we have this beautiful wood design, oval this time around. Seems to be in between the 2.3 and the Lewin. A little bit heavier. Full specifications running down the screen now. So it's 32 ohm planar with 98 dB sensitivity. You require some current for this, and especially for scalability, and oh boy does it scale. This is 3.5 entry. It's inserted into the cup so that the joint relief is within the cup itself. Ryan does something like this too with the tungstens. Oh, by the way, the DS review will be coming very shortly. I know a lot of you are anticipating that. We have this grille design over the driver. I am not a fan of this one. It looks a bit like a bird cage. I don't like this myself. I think I preferred probably the Lewin or the other one, the SV023 a little bit. That is my least favorite part about this headphone. I'm not a fan of that one. Splaying the headphone like this, obviously these pads come off. You got this beautiful velvet face that rests against your cheek, and then you've got this protein leather surrounding the angled pads. I recommend not squashing the pads against your face, making sure it sits gently against your face. These are the headphones themselves. Extremely comfortable, extremely open, and a little bit heavier than the Lewin and the Sivga SV023. So for comfort for me, from the Sivga line is Lewin first, then this one, possibly fighting out with the Sivga SV023. Apart from that, the headband is astonishingly comfortable, probably more comfortable than a lot of the super flagship headphones, to be honest with you. You've got these beautiful little bumps, that's this velour material again, and leather on top. This is really beautifully designed. Well done, Sivga. Already 4 tigers out of 5. Why am I not giving you 5? I like an indentation in the sliding mechanism, and I think I would like a little bit nicer grille. I don't know why, I'm just not a really big fan of this bit. Let's talk about the most important stuff. How does this thing sound? And why is it a paradigm shift? Let's discuss. For a bit of context, the P2 Pro has been run on my obviously portable luxury and precision P6 Pro. This is a $4,000 DAP of the absolute super flagship category. R2R resistor ladder to push the drivers to their limits while walking around the office. This one is the Q-Style CMA18 Portable, a bit more palatable at around $700. Current drive, extremely good for planars, especially a little bit of the hungry ones. And obviously the system you see on my left, the Ferrum stack, the OR, the Hypsos and the Wandla. And incidentally, for kicks, I put it on the HM1 from sale over there with the Cyan 2 R2R resistor ladder DAC. That review will be coming too. And obviously on the channel reference, the Wave Dream Signature, but we can forget about that one for now. That one's just seeing the capabilities of the driver. The most important ones we need to focus on is the CMA18 Portable, the OR and Hypsos, and obviously the dongles and things lying around the studio. How does this headphone sound? So the P2 Pro, along the same lines of the Sivga SV023 rather than the Lewin, is more of a neutral bright sound characteristics. This performance of this new driver has been nothing short of astonishing in this category. Honestly, putting this on the OR and Hypsos, the level of bass response, caliber and quality, openness of stage, detail retrieval, punch, separation and articulation and presence and timbre has been kind of shocking. A few years ago, we would have classified something like the Beyerdynamics T1 as a flagship headphone. This beats that on every level. It's funny how quickly the industry has moved forward. This driver is extremely resolving. There were some minor hiccups though at the beginning. You really do need to break these drivers in for a good 150 hours. They are very spicy. There's energy around 6 to 12 kilohertz. It's a very wide sweep that resonates within the cups, and the pads do need to break in, but this will dissipate with time and break in. Now, it's a brighter sounding headphone, certainly. It's more detail focused, but it's not painful. At the beginning, I couldn't listen to this above 55 dB. Hey, this thing moves up and down like this too. I didn't know that. Hey, that's quite impressive. Interesting. So you've got full articulation on this thing. Oh, it's very comfortable, but we did mention that already. The level of detail retrieval in this category gives you a touch of the flagship. Honestly, I think this headphone might be more detailed than Aria V2 back in the day from Hi-Fi-Man. We're talking DT1990 on steroids level of detail, for those of you who are familiar with that headphone. Still a loved headphone in the industry. This driver is extremely punchy and authoritative and not bound to a specific genre. I just wish the treble region was a little bit more tame rather than so energetic. It's got a touch of energy around it, and for some people this can be a little bit too much. But once it breaks in, this gets better. And with certain equipment, this actually has a tendency to be exacerbated and mitigated. So for example, the R2R Resistor Ladder Luxury and Precision P6 Pro, absolutely no problems whatsoever. The neutral CMA18 Portable, which is more of a, I would say, neutral sound characteristics, excellent drivability in the bass response, providing that current that this requires, is a little bit more energetic there. But on the OR, Hypsos and Wandla, this headphone is articulate and genuinely quite impressive. But those are just words. Let's discuss some songs. Taking Hans Zimmer's collection, Live in Prague 2019, first of all starting with Interstellar, that rumble, that low end, that sub bass around 20 to 25 Hertz, this reproduces with authority if the current is there from the amplification. I can't overstate how impressive that area of this headphone is. It's a few dB above neutral, so you are definitely getting the lower end of the spectrum of sub bass. The airiness of classical music, jump into Pirates of the Caribbean Live, of the arena, really does reflect where that track was played and recorded, and gives a scope of height, which at the same time as the bass response gives a full spectrum of each individual instrument, so that each individual instrument sounds quite large and authoritative and has a very wide spectrum from sub bass to treble region. You don't really often hear the instruments being shrunk down to a smaller size than it ought to be, especially horns. It's a very decent performer. Climbing up to the mid-range, we have a reference sort of neutral mid-range here. A touch of laid-back characteristics so that you get some serious depth. I think there might be a subtle dip in the 1 kHz region. It's a little bit difficult without graphs and measuring equipment to actually pinpoint the exact place where this dip might occur, so that that depth of information separating that upper bass response from that lower mid-range. But audibly, it does characterize itself in this manner, so that the vocals have a tendency to come forward and back, but they have serious room to breathe. A very open, natural, neutral sounding mid-range. For the treble region, this is where things tend to come forward a tiny bit, giving that touch of energy. So for example, cymbals, etc. really does highlight within the mix. Timbre is very good, surprisingly good for this category. Normally this is where headphones tend to fail a little bit, especially in the lower categories where resolution tends to give way to distortion and you get that sort of crunchy, a bit aggressive sound, unless the frequency response has been really dialed in and it's a laid back treble. To have a authoritative, incisive treble region that is a little bit forward and energetic, and to be able to pull that off with the detail retrieval at the same time is not something that is often seen in this category, and this does do a really good job of that. But it does sound a little bit bright. So for example, versus say an Atrium tuning from ZAC from ZMF. This is far more leaning towards the, for example, in the super flagship category, the Sivga sort of tuning a little bit. But we do have some emphasis going back down to the mid bass, where In the lower register of the mid bass, this does come forward a little bit, and sometimes when the mix itself has a forward characteristics of kick drums here, it can sound a little bit overly thick if you're paying too much attention. But due to the presence and the laid back nature of certain instruments being able to be thrown back in the mix, this doesn't often occur. The upper bass region really does have weight and tonal density to support this slightly spicy treble region. This sapphire introduction of the part of the driver is honestly quite intriguing and is very resolving. This is simply, without a doubt, the best headphone Sivga have ever made. And this is a headphone that from Sivga, I can safely say if you buy this, you'll be surprised. I certainly was. The mid-range, I don't think is as lush as something like HD 650 from Sennheiser, but it's definitely far more resolving and a lot more present, so that each individual instrument or sound around the stage, for example, like this, having the singer here, using this CMA18 as prop as the bassist here, and obviously the guitarist with the Luxury and Precision P6 Pro here, there is separation around the singer, so that this is not empty dead air, this is actually the ambience of the stage itself. So it does articulate that very well. Going from classical to metal, the genre works, especially meaty, chunky electric guitars. It sounds extremely resolving. You get an incisive edge of attack. Textural information is a little bit obviously softer than something like a Utopia 2022, for example, at 10 times the freaking price. Of course it is. But the headphone sounds so natural when you listen to it in this category that your brain doesn't pick these things up unless you're going, okay, coming down from a Utopia, all right, I see where the flaws are, and you start going into analytical mode. But if you're just enjoying the music, pianos, for example, each attack of the hammer on the strings when you're hearing the musician go up and down the scale does not sound airy, ethereal or thin. The bass response really does give it a good edge of attack and good tonal density and weight. And not only that, the presence and articulation within the stage really does do a good job of bringing this setup to life in this mix. I am very impressed. This is definitely the best of Sivga. So what are some of the caveats of this headphone? One, it's a tiny bit heavier than the Luan and the SV023. So I think the Luan was a little bit more comfortable with that beautiful splayed pads. Subjectively, I am not a fan of this grille here, but you might love it. So that one's just a me thing. Price point, price to performance ratio, scalability, resolvability, all excellent. A very nice cable, a very nice case, very few caveats for this thing. You might like a darker sound signature and a laid back treble region that's a little bit less energetic, but that's an individual basis. Technically, for technicality's sake, timbre, tonality, textural information, balance, this headphone does a very good job at this price point, with some minor gripes here or there, like that tiny bit of the lower mid bass, depending on the mix of what you're listening to, could come across a little bit too thick, the way Empyrean first generation used to be, but it's once every 10 or 20 tracks, just depending on your library. So in conclusion, going across all of these equipment here, from the CMA18 portable, yes, it can drive it very nicely, to Ferrum stack to a P6 Pro. This headphone scales up nicely. It has brought down the flagship category of Aria V2, a Beyerdynamics T1, a Focal Clear MG, into the mid-fi pricing of the yesteryear, and probably more detail than some of those in a natural manner, where people can actually reach for this and afford it and get a beautiful, comfortable headphone that is easily drivable, that is scalable, that's comfortable. I love where the hobby is heading, genuinely. Sivga P2 Pro, 4 tigers out of 5. This took me back by surprise. Well done, most impressed. If reviews such as these is to your liking, consider joining Patreon, where all of your support goes to helping the channel, getting these videos edited and shot, and letting us do this job and bringing you more reviews. And you get to see these reviews before YouTube over there. Not only that, but you will be able to join the private Telegram chat for CMA and talk to other like-minded people, ask me questions, and hear about equipment way before it hits YouTube. All of the information will be down below. Until the next one, peace.